The following program is intended for mature audiences.
TBS, America's #1 independent television network, presents the following sports exclusive.
You're listening to Basically a Sports Show.
Follow us on Twitter at Basically Sports.
Subscribe to our podcast on iTunes.
And check out every episode of the show at basicallysports.tumblr.com.
Now here's your hosts, Zach,
Greg, Mike.
And you're listening to Basically a Sports Show.
How about my Cleveland Browns?
Yeah.
My Cleveland Browns.
Making the moves.
From 0-16 in 2017 to, honest to God, the number 3 pick by the Vegas Oddmakers to make the Super Bowl out of the AFC this year.
I don't disagree. I mean, what else is there in the AFC right now? Patriots.
The Patriots, that's who's
Chiefs. Patriots and Chiefs.
Chiefs, maybe the Chargers, and then the Browns are right there, I think, you know?
Don't you think, though, that this is the Browns we're talking about, so this is probably as close as they're going to get, and then it's going to all go to hell again?
Possibly.
I mean, we're never even going to get to the season where it could have happened. Like, this is as good as it will be right now. And then Odell Beckham Jr. will fall down a flight of steps, or Baker Mayfield will something. Whatever it is, it'll go south in a hurry, I promise you. But it's pretty cool for the moment. I mean, they're good. I was listening to, I think it was Jim Rome talk about it today. And that team is loaded. I mean, just loaded, top to bottom. I mean, they've got great defensive players, good offense.
Yeah, Baker Mayfield has 2 people to throw to now.
Right, Jarvis Landry and Odell Beckham Jr. I mean, is there a better tandem? Yes! I mean, maybe Thielen and Diggs, but that's about it.
That should be like the season headline. Baker Mayfield now has 2 receivers.
Yeah, well.
Browns, 2019.
And what's his name? The tight end, Njoku's pretty good too.
Yeah,
he's not bad.
Yeah, who's the running back? Was
Nick
it Carlos
Chubb?
Hyde?
Nick Chubb.
No, Nick Chubb. Yeah.
Ran for like 966 yards, and you got to remember that idiot Hugh Jackson wouldn't even play him until like the 56th game of the year.
Look, I'm sure Hugh had his reasons.
Well, I'm sure he did too.
I'd say they were good reasons, but he had them.
God, what an idiot. What a fucking idiot. He cost us, who knows.
He sent you back a year. Like, he should have been fired after 0-16. Like, that should have.
Yeah, but pretty quick turnaround for my boys. I got to say, I'm pretty excited.
They're easily the favorites in the division.
Oh, yeah, got to be, right? I mean, Flacco's gone to the Broncos now with the Ravens, so you got Lamar Jackson, but they've lost a lot of defensive players.
Whoa. I missed that. Flacco's with the Broncos?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. There's been a lot of movement, a lot of movement going on in the NFL. Earl Thomas signed with the Ravens today, and
yeah, Eric Weddle is a Ram.
Yep.
I'm excited about.
Yeah, lots of stuff going on. But you know what? I've never been that big a believer in NFL free agency. It's not like baseball where you can make a couple moves and it really makes a difference. Football's been kind of weird. Sometimes it works. Most times it doesn't. We've seen a lot of teams that spend a lot of money on free agency and end up not being really any better. Now, the Browns haven't really done that. I mean, they haven't been chasing free agents. They've just made some smart, shrewd deals.
Well, I mean, the way that I've always heard in the NFL is that you get better through drafting.
Yep.
But, like, that hasn't worked for the Browns. So, like, maybe this is the Browns.
It's worked a little bit. I think that they've been kind of held back by some incompetent coaching and management.
Yeah, their last couple drafts have been really good. And
my point was, I think that maybe they need to go with the maybe they're finally taking the George Costanza route from Seinfeld, where he just does the opposite.
Yeah, that could be.
If it's like Browns,
but I like
you've ever had has been wrong, then the opposite must be right.
I do like that instead of going in like trying to make a big free agent splash, like they made a trade to get Beckham. They're plugging little holes instead of building the team around free agency, which I think is a good thing. But they're going to be tough. They were tough last year. And now, all of a sudden, it's weird because they were such a laughingstock 2 years ago. Not even 2 years ago. They were so horrible. And all of a sudden, you look at them and you go, well, they're actually good. This isn't an illusion. They had a really once-in-a-lifetime season last year. I mean, they're just that good now, and it's really bizarre because it hasn't been like this since, like, 86 was the last time they were like this.
Well, I think, not to turn this into an NFL preview show, I think it's a bit too early for that, but...
Mike, it's never too early to talk the National Football League. Never. Never. If everyone else can do it, so can we.
Brady
24/7 league, Mike.
That's right.
Brady Watch off season 2019.
Right.
Like, I don't know. You look at it like what about the Bengals? Because they are being coached now by someone who once had lunch with Sean McVay.
Was it lunch? I thought they just passed each other in the hallway once. Like
Zach Taylor was the quarterback's coach for the Rams for a season.
With Sean McVay, or just because
with Sean McVay?
Okay, so he actually does have a bit of a relationship with him then.
Yes,
because there were guys out there that were getting interviews because they'd happened to be in the same room with him.
Yeah, I know. In the Cliff Kingsbury press release, they played up that he knows Sean McVay.
Okay.
Even though they never coached with each other, never as much as shared the field with each other. But
he knows him, and therefore this man should be hired.
What if how they know each other is through, like, say, just for an example, they're both with their wives involved in some swingers club and they never talk football. Yeah. So then what do you do? The Cliff Kingsbury thing was a bizarre turn of events in itself.
Didn't that allow us to discover the Omaha Beef?
Yeah.
The Zach Taylor signing, yeah.
Okay, no, Zach, yeah.
Well, anything that leads to the Omaha Beef is a good thing, right?
Well, truly. But the Cliff Kingsbury stuff is starting to get odd because there's all this talk of them with the number 1 overall pick, just going ahead and drafting Kyler Murray and trading away Josh Rosen after a year.
Yeah, that's not good.
Kyler Murray is supposedly the type of guy that he wants to run his offense. Like, it's an air raid passing style offense.
That doesn't
You don't think
work.
Josh Rosen can't do that?
Well, not only that, but that doesn't necessarily translate to the NFL very well. We've seen it going all the way back to the days of the USFL and Mouse Davis and the run and shoot. And sometimes it works, but when you're playing football in December or January in Buffalo, that shit doesn't fly, and you better be able to do something else. And that's why
it's worth noting that in the university game, for example, and even to like even like other, I guess, professional leagues, you can get away with it too. But like, it's a matter of skill, right? Like, if you are a coach for a collegiate program of any sort of note, you can do the whole air raid thing because chances are you've got receivers who are above and beyond the talent level of the other team's defensive backs. And the NFL, that talent gap is considerably narrower.
Right. And you've got to be able to, not only that, but in college, you can recruit exactly the kind of players you want. You don't really have that luxury in the NFL. You can try, but you're not always going to get them. They're not always going to fit. And if I'm Josh Rosen, I'm like, you know what? Screw you guys. I want out of here because that's ridiculous. What was he drafted 10th last year? Something like that.
Yeah.
And now
ninth, I think.
It just seems insane to take a quarterback.
Well, not only that,
who you spent a first round pick on. Like, this is a first round quarterback. And like, I know the Cardinals weren't good last season, but it wasn't because of him.
No, it was because the coach who they fired after a year too. Like,
I still can't remember his name.
Steve Wilkes.
Right, him.
Yeah.
Who we're not sure actually existed, but we'll go ahead and give him the benefit of the doubt.
But again, like, Josh Rosen wasn't the problem. If anything, he was the bright spot on that team this year. And I just don't see how, as a new coach, before even getting him into OTAs, getting him to actually run your plays at all, that you can make the decision of, I don't want this guy on the team. I want a different guy. Especially as a first-year head coach in the NFL, where and even based on what he's done in college, I don't think Cliff Kingsbury deserves the amount of swagger that he's starting to throw around already.
No, I remember it wasn't that long ago. This guy was the quarterback at Texas Tech, and it wasn't that long ago.
I mean, look, it's the Arizona Cardinals. Any swagger he has is going to be like squeezed out of him.
Right, true.
Soon, so.
That'll be gone by week 3.
I would get it if you give him a year and you say, okay, well, he doesn't work in my system. Let's get a new guy. But he's also just so in love with Kyler Murray that he thinks that, this is the guy that I need right away. And Kyler Murray's good. probably, if I were Kyler Murray, I probably would have stuck with baseball.
Well, here's my question with Kyler Murray and with the NFL. Do you really want to, if you're the Cardinals, do you really want to draft a guy that played 1 year at Oklahoma, right? That's it. He played the one season. Am I wrong?
2 years.
Okay, 2 years. Oh, well, that's different then, but I thought it was one. Still, he's what, 5'10", I think they figured out.
No, maybe it was just the one.
I think it was just the one season. That's all. He came out of nowhere, won the Heisman, blah, 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 and here he is. I've seen this happen before. I mean, I don't know if you guys remember, there was a guy named McKeely Smith that played at Oregon.
Oh, I remember him.
The Bengals drafted him number 3. And he had about 2 good games, and that was the last anybody ever heard of him. I mean, the NFL is littered with guys that had one good, Ryan Leaf's another great, he's a perfect example. One good season at Washington State, and they were people that were legitimately debating whether it should be him or Peyton Manning as the number 1 pick. Now, you think about that now, and you go, that's just ridiculous, but that's the way it was. So if I'm the Cardinals, I don't know if I'm ready to go all in on a guy that played 1 season. He's small.
Well, he played 1 full season with Oklahoma.
Okay.
As a freshman at Texas A&M, he completed 72 of 121 passes for 5 touchdowns and 7 interceptions.
Okay.
And then sat out 2016 with Oklahoma. 2017 with Oklahoma, he only threw 21 passes because, Baker Mayfield.
Right.
And then last year he had the full year.
I just don't know that I give up.
He completed 69% of his passes for 4,000 yards and 42 touchdowns.
In the Big 12.
Yeah.
So you've got to take that into consideration too. He never saw a real defense probably all season.
Yeah.
I'm not ready.
Baker Mayfield though.
Yeah, that's true. I'm not sure though if I'm the Cardinals, if I'm ready to give up on Josh Rosen to take a shot on this guy. I just don't know if I would do that. That seems like a really dumb move.
If you want to draft Kyler Murray, go ahead, I guess. But if you do that, you're going to get yourself stuck in a bad position. If you're going to trade Josh Rosen, you might as well just do it because you're never going to get more value for him than right now. Because if he's good, people still think he's good. But if he comes in and plays your system and looks terrible, then what do you do with him after a year? You're going to get rid of him then? Right. Or he looks good, then you still have Kyler Murray, and I guess you have to trade a guy who is unproven, and maybe you get something more for him there. But I just don't get it. And I think the Cardinals, again, I think Josh Rosen is perfectly fine to have, and the Cardinals have plenty of other things that they need to fix that they could use that number 1 pick on, whether it's a lineman or a D-backer or something. Well,
don't you think, too, that there's a team out there that, like, let's say the New York Giants, for example, that really need a new quarterback that wouldn't give them a pretty good haul for that number 1 spot if they wanted Murray, which maybe they do, maybe they don't.
Yeah.
But there are teams out there that would definitely make a deal with you where you could do all right trading that pick for the rights to him. And I just don't get it. I think that Rosen's a better suited guy for the NFL than Murray is. Now, granted, I thought the same thing about Baker Mayfield, and it turns out Mayfield's pretty good. But I just don't know that I do this on the Cardinals. I don't know that I just give up on Josh Rosen just like that, because what's going to happen is he'll probably go to, I don't know, some team that will end up like beating the daylights out of them every chance he gets for the rest of his life. I just don't know that I do it. I think it's a bad move.
The difference is that, Baker Mayfield is 6'1" and 215, and Kyler Murray is 5'10" and 195.
Right, exactly.
Baker Mayfield's not the biggest guy at the QB position, but he's definitely able to play at an NFL level. And I don't know, like, guy who's not even 200 pounds, like behind the Cardinals O-line, like
the thing that's the upside for that for Murray is that he is a little bit more mobile. Mm-hmm. He can run. What did he run for last year? 1,000 yards on the ground, average 7 yards a carry.
Again,
12 touchdowns rushing.
Against Big 12 defenses, not against the Rams, the Seahawks, even the 49ers and the division. And then he's still got to have people to throw to. Again, you're probably looking at at minimum, 3-star recruits that he's thrown to at Oklahoma, maybe more, 4 or 5-star players that he's not going to have in the NFL. It just seems to me, I'm not saying don't draft a guy. I'm saying don't, if you're the Cardinals, there's always going to be another Kyler Murray down the road. I don't know that I do this if I'm the Cardinals. Other teams, sure, why not take a shot? But the Cardinals are in a weird position to go ahead and try something like this, I think.
Yeah, they don't need that. That wouldn't be my move.
Well, speaking of quarterbacks, our boy Nick Foles, the Jacksonville Jaguars are about to learn the hard way, aren't they?
Oh boy, yeah. Blake Bortles is going to be cut soon, and Big Dick Nick.
Yeah, Big Dick Nick, Jacksonville, like. And just look at that. Look at the last half of that last playoff game versus the Saints, and you kind of see what happens when the clock strikes midnight on Nick Foles. Like
he's a poor man's Ryan Fitzpatrick. If you've got 3 games you need to win all season, he's your guy. But I don't see him doing this for a 16-game season. We've seen it before. We've been down this road with Nick Foles. That's why. Sometimes the NFL just boggles me with how stupid it can be. It's like, we know what this guy's capable of. We've seen it.
I don't think it's stupid so much as it is desperation, because you're the Jaguars, man. You're like, if you don't make a splash at QB, your guy is Blake Bortles.
Yeah.
So I'm giving them the benefit of the doubt that they're not just idiots. And I'm just being like, and I'm just trying to give them the benefit of the doubt that they're just desperate. Like, that's what I'm thinking.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Who was it that signed Keenum
4
last year?
years.
The Broncos?
Yeah. Well, and Keenum is now where?
I don't even know, but here's the thing. You know.
Yeah, where is Keenum?
But
they moved him.
Keenum and Foles were kind of like the same guy.
Redskins.
They were kind of like the same player, basically. And Keenum, the Broncos go, well, this is our guy. And they bring him in a year later. Guess what? No, Joe Flacco's our guy now.
AC Keenum is a Washington Redskin, huh?
Wow.
Yeah. All right. Best of luck, I guess.
So explain this to me. So basically,
is Alex Smith's leg just amputated?
Alex Smith will never come back from that injury. There's no way. No way. It was worse than Theismann's. And Theismann, I mean, he's lucky he can even walk. But explain this to me. Does anybody think that Case Keenum is better than Kirk Cousins? I don't.
No.
So basically, you went through all these machinations to get a guy that's like the same guy except 20% worse. That's all you did. Good job.
Just why didn't they just pay Kirk Cousins? Like,
right.
He's inconsistent as hell, but he's probably the best quarterback they've had in a long time.
If you sat me down and said you can choose between Foles, Keenum, and Cousins, I'm taking Cousins every single time.
Right, and that's what the Vikings did.
Yeah. Which then we saw that worked out.
Kirk Cousins, and they got rid of Case Keenum.
Who knows?
That's such a strange movement when you think about it. Of Alex Smith to Washington, Kirk Cousins to Minnesota, Case Keenum to the Broncos, now Joe Flacco to the Broncos, Case Keenum back to the Redskins.
It's like everyone's trading mediocre quarterbacks around.
Right. But that shows you how important the position is, though, because once you get a guy, you hang on to him for dear life. Because when guys like that are pulling in the money they're pulling in, you know that it's a quarterback league. I mean, there's no question about it. But anyway.
Who else do we got going on here? Le'Veon Bell is a Jet.
Yeah.
After
that he went through. And I think he's making less money than he would have made had he just taken the franchise tag with Pittsburgh, too.
Yep. Yeah. But I think it's not a bad move for the Jets.
I don't either. I like it as a move for the Jets, but wow, did he screw up?
Yeah.
I
mean, now you got Sam Darnold with a competent running back behind him.
Yeah.
See what they do in the draft. I mean, the Patriots are still going to be the Patriots, but should they falter, or should that ever end, I think the Jets are right there to take that ground.
Lesson last year, it never ends.
Oh, I know. I know. I said if it ever ends, the Jets
you'll know what I'm saying.
Provide a challenge.
I'm staying completely quiet on this whole thing with the Patriots. I'm not opening my mouth. I'm not saying a word. No, sir.
No, the Patriots are winning the Super Bowl again next year. I'm just saying that.
Right.
In the event that somehow it doesn't happen.
We love you, Tom.
The Jets can be challengers. Not contenders. Challengers. They will challenge them. They will give a shot.
I'll put it this way.
Much in the same way that the Stanley Cup used to be called the Challenge Cup, where a team would challenge for it. They didn't win necessarily. They could be blown out, but they could challenge them for it.
Yeah, kind of like when the Canadiens were winning it every single year. Yeah, it's kind of the same deal.
There are teams that will challenge.
This is what I'll say about the Jets. I like the Le'Veon Bell move. I think that they've got some potential at quarterback. And if they don't screw it up and they kind of take their time and don't try to go too far too fast, they could become competent again. Now, what that means with regard to the Patriots, well, you're probably still looking at a wild card spot for the Jets, but that's better than nothing. At least you're there, right?
I just feel sorry for Mr. Bell because his first season with the Jets is going to have to wear whatever god-awful garbage Nike vomits up for them.
You know,
didn't they say that those are coming soon?
Draft time, right?
Next month, April.
Yeah.
Okay, so the draft, yeah.
Yeah, we're going to get to see. Let's. I don't feel good about it at all.
If the new cheerleader uniforms are any indication, because this is how freaking CSI the boards have gotten that we're evaluating cheerleader uniforms now.
Not a bad idea.
We're looking at black, forest green, and Nike Volt.
Oh. Well, again, it's all going to depend on the execution. If they do it right, which the odds are pretty slim that they will, but if they do it right, it could look okay. But I don't think it will. I think it's going to be an absolute disaster because the more they talk up a uniform, usually the worse it is. It just seems to me that I don't know why you changed it in the first place. You had great uniforms. Go back to the original Joe Namath green. Fix a couple little things here and there, and it's a classic. Leave it alone.
The Super Bowl. You're getting rid of the Super Bowl III uniforms,
right?
Guys.
Yeah.
Come on.
But black and Volt.
Well, they're getting rid of them in a version. The Super Bowl III uniforms have 3 different greens on them.
Yeah.
No, they actually matched. Believe it or not.
No, you see, Super Bowl III happened in a long lost time when uniform manufacturers could make a consistent color green.
And you know what's funny about that too is that they didn't give a fuck whether the colors matched or not back then. If you look at old pictures, a lot of times you'd see guys wearing different number fonts. It wasn't like they did it on purpose, but this is
it's whatever they found.
Well, this is the jersey we have. This is what you're going to wear, and they still managed to get the colors right.
I just find that hilarious that Nike with their space age fabrics can't do green.
Yeah. Green it just baffles them. They're just absolutely, they don't know what to do. It paralyzes them.
But, there is, the, other big thing, I guess, in the NFL, Mr. Big Chest.
Go
to the Raiders.
Yes. The Raiders. Jesus God almighty.
Mr. Big Chest.
So let's get this put together. The Raiders didn't want to pay Khalil Mack.
No.
Claimed they couldn't.
Didn't want to keep Amari Cooper.
No.
But they do want Antonio Brown, and they do want to pay Antonio Brown.
Right.
$20 million more than what he was making with the Steelers.
For a team that has to go back with its tail between its legs to play in Oakland one more year because they couldn't, swing their ability to play elsewhere.
Why can't they play at Sam Boyd Stadium again?
It's not NFL's caliber, plumbing and
the fucking recreational park the Chargers play at? Come on.
Dignity Health Sports Park.
And Video Game Emporium.
You hear what I'm saying? Right? Somehow the Chargers station is acceptable for 3 years, but the Raiders can't play at Sam Boyd for 2?
Well, at least StubHub, I can't call it Dignity Health. The Galaxy Stadium is modern-ish,
Plus, you can watch softball from the stands.
It is part of a giant athletic complex with a track and field stadium.
That's what I'm saying.
And tennis courts. It's not just the stadium, which makes this whole thing a little bit funnier.
I kind of expect the community clubhouse to be off to the side somewhere.
Right.
Yeah, the local snack bar. Yeah.
Sign up for shuffleboard.
Yeah, all the Chargers.
They got ping pong tables inside the community room. Come on.
But
and by the way, we also have an NFL team.
Yeah, but back to the Raiders, this is not a situation that I would want to be in. But Antonio Brown seems ecstatic to be a part of it, and it's all about the money.
He only has the best judgment. Come on,
it's all about I forget what percentage of that money is guaranteed. I think it's 30-some million.
30 million and change is guaranteed.
Right up front. It goes into his pocket. That's what he doesn't care about. I shouldn't say he doesn't care about winning a Super Bowl ring, but he cared about the money more because I don't think that Pittsburgh was guaranteeing anything for him. And I'll never knock an NFL player for taking guaranteed money because, man,
sure,
you never know. The next play could be your last. But I will knock the people that when he was in the booth for Monday Night Football, always talking about, wait till Gruden comes back. Wait till Gruden comes back. Well, what we've proven here is that Gruden has come back, and he's a moron. He doesn't know what the fuck he's doing.
John Gruden came back, and he still thinks it's 2001.
Right. He got rid of Khalil Mack, who transformed the Bears. Let's be honest about it. The Bears weren't going to be that good without him. No way. Mm-hmm. Amari Cooper. I will give him credit. He got a number 1 draft pick from Amari Cooper. That's not bad. That's a pretty good move.
You didn't have to give up much to get Antonio Brown either, just a 3rd and a 5th.
Yeah. But still, isn't Brown in his 30s?
He is, yes.
Yeah, so you're getting a guy that might give you another year or two, but I don't know. I don't know. Who knows what the Raiders are thinking? It's like you think, okay, they're tanking or they're trying to get picks to rebuild, and then all of a sudden they go out and sign a veteran guy, and you go, I don't know. It's John Gruden. He's an idiot.
If you thought last year was a disaster for the Raiders, this year is going to be an even greater shit show somehow. Because again, the stadium situation, they tried to leave. They tried to leave early. and so the city of Oakland or Oakland fans are going to have to cheer for this team for another year and somehow give them a tearful send off at the end of it. I don't know how that's going to play out. I don't think it'll be pretty in any sense.
No.
And then not to mention the actual on-field product where, okay, your big move after getting rid of Amari Cooper, who's a young, productive wide receiver, to get Antonio Brown, an overpaid, older, going to be diminishing wide receiver.
I mean, right now, like if it was just for one season, you could pick either one. Of course, you take Antonio Brown. Obviously, he's just a better player than Amari Cooper. But to lock up all that money into a guy that's like 31, I don't know if I do that again. But this is the Raiders we're talking about here. I don't know what they're doing. And this is a guy, you got to remember, this is a team that's owned by a guy that gets his hair cut with a freaking bowl on his head. I mean, come on.
True.
He goes in and goes, give me the Mo. I want the Mo or whatever.
He's a P.F. Chang's regular. Right?
The best thing I can say about Mark Davis is that he's got an 8-track or a VHS player in his van. That's the best thing about him.
The fact that he is a millionaire and drives around in a 1997 van with a VHS player.
Right. I don't know if that's really cool or if he's just, wow, he's that weird. And don't forget, another thing too I wanted to predict here. We've already seen it, and we called this. I want to point out again the amazing power of clairvoyance the show has. We said that Nathan Peterman would end up with the Raiders, and he did. I'm calling it right now. Blake Bortles will be on that quarterback depth chart at some point.
Oh, man.
With the Raiders.
Boy.
David Carr, Nathan Peterman, and Blake Bortles. That's a depth chart of legends.
It'll happen. Wait, because Gruden's got it in his head because of some slickly produced show that he did for ESPN for all those years that he's actually some sort of quarterback whisperer. And it's one thing to talk to a guy for 30 minutes on the air, but to actually go out and coach him up and make him a good quarterback, a whole different ballgame. But I bet you anything Bortles ends up with the Raiders too, and that'll be hysterical. That'd be the greatest thing ever.
Man, I don't know. It's that team. When you're going to be playing into a new city in a year, and a city like Vegas where you want to make a splash.
Well, and look at you've got to follow too. I mean, look, I'm not going to make any kind of argument that the NFL isn't bigger than the NHL, but you got to follow what the Golden Knights did. You got to come in, and they're not gonna. These are sports fans. They're gonna be like, well, look, the Knights did it. What's wrong with you guys?
Right. Well, that's what I mean too. Is like you had an expansion team, a team that literally didn't exist.
Right.
That came in with a splash, like the biggest splash you could have beyond winning the whole damn thing. And the Raiders, an established team with history that people can latch onto, is going to come in with just a turd.
And they're going to go 3-13.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because remember, when the Knights were coming in, that was what we talked about. Like, how will they compete with the Raiders? Right now, it's the question I think has to be reversed. It's like, how do they compete with the Knights?
Yeah.
You know?
Which is, the Raiders do get the advantage of, because of their history, they are a very regional team.
Sure.
And like there will be people that will stick with them for whatever reason.
Yeah.
And that will visit, from Northern California, from Southern California. And they'll be able to fill up the stadium. But in terms of ingratiating themselves with the locals, I almost think with what the Golden Knights have done, the Raiders are going to have a hard time.
Right. Because they're going to expect
anything other than a touristic attraction.
I mean, maybe they don't expect them to come in and go all the way to the Super Bowl, but they're not going to settle for 2-14, which is what that team looks an awful lot like right now.
And people, one of the fears that we had for the Golden Knights when they were established was that they're not going to get a local fan base. They're going to be a tourist attraction. People will come in for trips. The people that have moved there from elsewhere already will go to see their team, and that's it. With a sport like the NFL, where it's only the 10 home dates when you include the preseason, but the 8 regular season games, that I think is even more of a threat to be a tourist attraction type team.
Sure.
Because you could sell out to road fans or people just coming into Vegas for a weekend. Like, that's not hard. Selling out 41 games over, weeknights and all that sort of stuff with Vegas, that's harder. And the Raiders, I don't think, will ever be Las Vegas's team at any point. They will be the Raiders in Las Vegas.
Well, see, another advantage the Knights have is that they belong exclusively to Las Vegas. That's all. They will never be like, you don't have to look at them and go, well, they used to play here, or they used to play there. Like even the Avalanche, I think, have firmly established themselves as Colorado's team. But there's always that bit that they used to be the Nordiques. That the Knights never have to worry about that. Where the Raiders, I mean, my God, the Raiders have been moving somewhere since I can remember. So I don't know what that means as far as fan base goes. But it's just it's going to be interesting because, like, say you're a Kansas City Chiefs fan, you got no problem flying to Vegas for a weekend and while you're there catching a Raiders Chiefs game, no problem at all. I know that let's say a Dallas Stars fan is going to fly to Vegas on a Wednesday night to watch them play the Knights. I don't think that's going to happen.
No.
I think that's the difference.
No, hell, as a Ducks fan, I've wanted to go to Vegas in these first 2 years, but they keep playing them on weeknights. And as much as I wouldn't want to go to Vegas, I'm not going to Vegas on a Tuesday.
Right.
It's just not going to happen. But as soon as they play them on a Friday night, Saturday night, I'll show up.
But it's just funny to me that 2 years ago when we were talking about before Vegas even existed, we're like, man, what are they going to do with the Raiders, blah, blah, blah. Now it really seems like that the Knights have the stronger foothold in Vegas right now, and the Raiders have to come in and really work hard to win back like the goodwill that the Knights have, which I never thought would have happened. It's wild.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Oh, and just as a point of fact, fuck the Knights fans still.
Okay.
Yes, they're awful, awful people, and I despise the fact that you two have been giving that team props because they don't deserve it.
No.
You got to be fair, I guess.
They deserve props within the city limits. Anything outside of that, fuck them. Like, they're awful.
Well, you got to give them a break. They don't know how to be NHL fans. They've
boy, is that fucking evident. The Knights were in Anaheim last week, 2 weeks ago. Person sitting two feet away from me, not wearing Knights gear at all, but cheering on the Knights the entire game. Ducks pulled a goalie at the end of the game to try and score some goals. Why? Oh, where'd the goalie go?
He didn't really say that.
Oh yeah, no.
Did he really not know what was going on?
Where'd the goalie go?
He really didn't know.
He was tired. He wanted to go home.
I don't know if he was tired or not.
No, the goalie. That's what happened.
Oh, okay. He really didn't know why the goalie was pulled.
No.
Wow.
No, and I wasn't going to explain it to him because fuck him.
No, right, exactly. Don't explain it to him because fuck him for not knowing. That's ridiculous.
Now, where'd the goalie go? I don't know.
Well, that's like this guy that I hate to bring this story up because he's the nicest guy you'd ever meet. From Canada, by the way, born in Toronto, Mike. This guy should have never said this, all right? This is back when I was like a couple years out of high school. We used to go watch the Gold Diggers play. And this dude wasn't a sports fan at all, so I'll give him that. But one night, his name was Brian. They got him to go to watch the Gold Diggers one night with a bunch of people, right? And I guess the Diggers won like 7-2, and he came back home, and here's what he says. He goes, the Diggers are beating them so bad, they didn't even bother to play the fourth quarter.
Oh, my God.
So he
wasn't. This wasn't a joke either.
No,
right?
no.
Oh,
he just didn't. I mean, to his credit, he was not a sports fan in any sense of the word. But still,
my God,
but that was a Canadian that said that, folks. Honest to God, born in Toronto, and said that.
Oh, jeez.
I never forgot it. I'm like, that is too funny, man.
God, that's great.
Let's talk a little bit about the whatever it is annual glorious tournament victory. And we're gonna make a change.
This would be the sixth one. I think,
is it right? I'm not sure. I've kind of lost track.
Let me see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 7.
The seventh?
Zach won the first two with Batman.
Right.
Yep.
And then Andy won the third one with Teddy Roosevelt astride a War Orca.
Of course, a legendary entry.
Legendary entry. And then Chimp Mariachi Band won for Greg. So that's 4.
You've taken the last two, right?
And then I've taken the last two. I won with Bench on the Mensch and then Cosmic Turtle and the Quarter Quell. So
Right. The quarter. I forgot about the Quarter Quell that we had last year. That was an epic tournament last year.
Yeah.
Well, this year we're making a little bit of a change because we think it will speed things up a little bit, make it a little bit easier to handle the voting, and frankly, make it a little easier on us because we were kind of running out of ideas. So this year's tournament only going to be 32 entries. There's two ways to look at it. You're losing 32 entrants, but the 32 you have left are going to be the best of the very best. So that's how we're going to do it this year. 32 entries, and we will, I guess, do the selection show next week, right alongside the NCAA basketball team.
Yes.
Yeah. So the Glorious Tournament of Victory selection show will be next week, and should be fun. We've already talked about a few entries. We've had some suggestions for entries, and hopefully we can think of a few more that are pretty good. Honestly, the well was running a little bit dry there, I thought.
I mean, you know what? And this isn't to say that we're not going to expand it back. Like, we might decide to add 32 back in the future. We're just testing something out. That's all. You know, we think it'll move things a bit quicker and lead to more integration into the show.
And, the voting has to take place at such a lightning pace to keep up with everything that, we do the 64, we're down to the Sweet 16 before we even do another show. I think it'll be easier, like you said, easier to integrate it into the show without making it the entire show. So hopefully it'll all work out. And that's what we're going to do. So hopefully you like it. And if you don't, well, I don't know what to tell you.
Do you guys have anything to say about the upcoming baseball season?
I want to say this. Zach is one of us now. Not only was he watching exhibition baseball, he was watching it in person.
You went to see spring training.
Yeah.
I went over to Arizona, caught a couple spring training games, and boy, spring training is kind of boring.
Is it not? I mean, come on. Tell me. It's horrible. I'm sorry.
I went, I just wanted to say, I wanted to go over and be like, enjoy a baseball game, just sit there, have a hot dog, kind of not really care about what's happening, and just enjoy the sport at its purest form. Well,
when you're in the third inning and some guy named number 76 is playing at that point, you're just like, who even cares?
Yeah, the games both kind of went differently. So I went to the Angels were playing a split squad game on Saturday at the Cubs.
Those are even worse.
Right. And so, because it was a road split squad game, there was one regular guy in the entire lineup, David Fletcher, who, again, it's not like, going to be selling you any tickets. Whereas the Cubs, they had a couple guys in there, that were decent, but their spring training facility is one of the newer ones there, in Arizona. And I will say that kept me occupied. They have a great, facility there. They have a second deck with a whole lot of shade, and the great concession stands and all that sort of stuff. In-game entertainment, great. That's a fun place to go see a spring training game, whether the game's good or not. I was thoroughly occupied until about, the 7th or about the 8th, and then it's kind of like, oh boy, well, we've been here this long.
You make it a lot further than I do at spring training games. By the 4th inning, I'm ready to bail. I'm ready to go.
I kind of got up and walked around, and I was able to. But then the next day, the Angels Tempe Diablo Stadium is not by any means a modern marvel. It's tight rows, tight seats, not a whole lot of amenities. Mike Trout played all the way through the 7th inning, which was good.
Cool.
But it was just that one. The game went fast for about 3.5 innings, and then boy, did it slow down to a snail's pace. And we were all just kind of sitting there like, oh, okay, it's time to go. And of course, after we left, the Angels rallied for 6 runs in the 9th inning.
I think I was watching that game.
It ended up being a 9-9 tie. So I think part of me was like, oh, we missed the comeback, but I'm okay with not seeing a tie baseball game. I don't know. It's been a fairly recent development where they won't do extra innings in spring training anymore, which I think is fine. It's, you kind of know what you're getting into. It doesn't matter. Yeah.
Yeah. But, I know that, speaking of facilities, the one at Clearwater where the Phillies train is one of the nicest baseball stadiums I've ever been to, period. Major minor league.
It's nice. I've been there recently. It's quite
amazing for what it is. It's like wow, this is a really nice facility. Like I think the Rays should play there. I really do. They're not going to draw more than 14,000 a game anyways. What the hell's the difference?
Yeah, it was just one of those things where like I hadn't been to spring training in a few years. My girlfriend had never been, so we went out there to go experience it, and it's just. We're going to wait a couple years. It's not something that I don't think we wouldn't want to do it every year because it's just the first time unless you're really into the farm system, it is kind of hard to care.
The first time I went, I wanted to go just to say that I had done it. And then I went back the following year and it was kind of like, wow, I really would rather just go hang out in Florida because the first year we went, the Rays were still training at, I can't remember the name of the field anymore, but it's over in St. Pete. It's right on the bay. It's a really cool site. And we went to a game there, and then we went to Dunedin, which was kind of like, eh. And then the next year we went to Lakeland to see the Tigers, which is out in like Central Florida. And it's not terrible, but it was like, wow, this is just a complete waste of time. The seats it was just weird. And I haven't been back since. I wanted to say that I did it. And, maybe I thought about going while I was down there just recently, but I just didn't have the time to get over there for a day. So, but yeah.
Yeah. Again, and I think the other thing with these things is if you go and it's in the experience I had, I would go see another game in the Cubs stadium probably, but as much as I love seeing the Angels, there's nothing to their spring training.
Right.
It's so bare bones. So the stadium experience is actually something that matters in spring training a lot for your enjoyment.
Absolutely.
And I think the only other reason if you're somebody that wants to go to spring training, if you live in a cold weather city and you want to go see some baseball, sure, do it. If you're somebody like me that lives down here, unless the Angels got like some brand new signing and it's like, oh, I got to go see this guy. Like, was I happy to see Mike Trout? Yeah. Did we make up some new fun lyrics to take me out to the ball game? Yeah. Which goes 1-2 years of Mike Trout before he's in Philly.
Yeah, that's gonna suck.
It's taking the defeatist attitude because if he does stay, amazing. If he doesn't, well, But I wouldn't recommend going to spring training all that much.
I would
maybe once in a while, but
I would say once. Is good enough. You'll get the full experience one time. I mean, if you really, and I really love baseball, but I might go and just like, okay, I'm down there, baseball's going on, but that's about the extent of it. I'm not going to go out of my way to go see it and stuff. But one time was enough for me. I'm glad I did it, but like I said, by the 4th inning of the game I was at, I'm like, well, I'm ready to go.
I actually have plans to go, so that'll be interesting.
Yeah, well, you're right there.
I'm a half an hour from Dunedin, which is where the Blue Jays play, and almost as soon as I get back from Vegas, I will be going to Dunedin to watch the Blue Jays play the Canadian junior team. Oh, Canada!
There you go.
Middle of Florida, so.
Dunedin's park is about as generic as it gets. It's not bad, but it's just it's like stands around a baseball diamond. That's what it is.
But I think living in the spring training areas, like when I was living in Arizona, I went because you go get a beer. It's just a fun place to spend a day. But like if you have to travel to go see it, it's kind of like these guys are going to be playing all summer in at home, so it's What am I missing?
Yeah,
when I was living in Arizona, I didn't get to see the Angels all the time, so I'd go to spring training.
Look, I just want to be able to watch the Blue Jays play again in a stadium that's not a Costco. All right.
Right.
Yeah, you want to see their blues under the sun. I get it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I went just to, basically to go to as many parks as I could. I just wanted to be able to put them off a checklist. So I hit, like St. Petersburg, Dunedin, Clearwater, Sarasota, Lakeland. I can't remember the other one.
But speaking of nice stadiums in the Tampa Bay area, the Yankees Legends Field is really nice.
I've never been there.
It's the Yankees Spring Training Stadium. It's right across from Raymond James.
Yeah, I know where it is.
Which actually means it's better located than Tropicana Field.
Yeah.
But it's really nice too. I mean, again, it's small. Like, it's not up. It doesn't have 50,000 seats, but
no.
It's a nice, modern, small ballpark. It's got all of the amenities you'd need. And like Greg said, the Rays aren't going to draw more than 20,000 anyway, so why not?
Yeah, I don't understand why they just wouldn't put him in one of those parks, because anything's better than that shithole they play in now.
Yeah.
I always thought they should have expanded that park. Is it called like Ed something or other field? It's right. I can't.
Ed's Field.
It's Ed something field, but it was a really nice place. And it looked like it was a place where you could add seats onto, and they could have made a really nice stadium out of it. I think it's actually located where they wanted to put the Sailboat Stadium. It's in the same spot.
The Ybor City plan died because the Rays unveiled their plan for it, and then the city was like, "That's nice. How are you going to pay for this?"
Yeah,
and the Rays were like, "We were
Oklahoma
thinking
City.
you would help," and the city was like, "No."
Yeah, everybody knows my feeling on Florida Major League Baseball teams, and they just need to move. They built that beautiful park for the Marlins, and nobody goes, and now you've got Jeter down there. Just what's he trying to do?
Jeter is a humorless bore.
He really is.
He took the beautiful sculpture.
Right.
The beautiful home run sculpture out of.
The only fun thing about the Marlins in this era, and he gets rid of it. The only thing that was fun about that team, and he got rid of it. I'd like to close out the show with this, if you guys don't mind. Speaking of TV and entertainment and all that, our boy Alex Trebek, stage 4 pancreatic cancer.
Yeah.
That is a bummer.
That one is that one's hard.
Yeah.
That's hard.
I mean, I wish I could sit here and say that I think he's going to be okay and stuff, but man, what was it, like 3% of the people that get it survive it? It's
not
bad.
Good.
It's bad.
That's not good, no.
I don't know if there's ever been a smoother, better game show host than Alex Trebek.
He's a Canadian national icon.
And an American one. Yeah. Tough break. Real tough break.
Yeah. But again, the video he put out, he handled it with as much class and coolness as you could expect Alex Trebek to handle that, And I like that he got out in front of it like that. Like, he did it on his own terms instead of letting it come out and letting the tabloids and everybody get it and run with it. He did it in his, he just came out and was basically, here's what the story is. And he made a joke.
Yeah.
Still owes Jeopardy 3 more years on the contract.
I hope to God that he gets to fulfill those 3 years. I really do.
And it makes kind of, like, just saying, I just want to say, like, it kind of makes the fun discussion that was who's going to replace Alex Trebek kind of sad now.
Yeah.
It's like, oh.
But we have been discussing it on the boards, and I don't know that there's somebody out there that can. I mean, I'm sure someone will, because it's Jeopardy, it's an institution, it will go on. But can you guys think of anybody off the top of your? I suggested Keith Olbermann, even though I know it would be impossible, but I think he's got the smarts to pull it off. But he's a little bit too snarky, too divisive. Yeah,
he'd call the guy who came in last an idiot every show.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I mean, he's probably got the intellect for it, but nothing else. And then I thought, well, his old partner Dan Patrick has the smoothness, could do all of it, but he doesn't have the smarts. And I don't mean to say he's a dumb person, but like I said on the boards, on Jeopardy, whether you know the actual answer or the clue or not, you've got to sound like it's secondhand knowledge to you, and that's the hard part. Which, by the way, incidentally, is always what pissed my dad off about Alex Trebek. He's so smug. He talks like he knows all those. He doesn't know those answers. But yeah, it's going to be a shame. I mean, I wish him all the best, and it would be great if he beat this. But wow, he's got a tough fight ahead of him.
That was a bummer.
Yeah, it really was. I hate to close the show on a down note like that, but I just thought we should talk about it a little bit.
One other thing I wanted to ask you guys, just quickly before we call it a show.
Okay.
This might seem kind of like a random thing, kind of a obvious answer kind of thing, but I want to ask it to you guys anyway.
All right.
What do you guys think about goalies with custom masks and pads?
Like what they do now, basically?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. Does someone have a problem with it?
Ferdinand Cesarano.
Ferdinand Cesarano and Andrew Harrington also jumped in on this too. Yeah.
Oh, those two guys are pretty respected, so let me hear what they have to say.
Ferdinand Cesarano. I really don't like to see these goalies freestyling on their masks. The goalie's helmet and mask should be standard, just like every other player's helmet.
No.
He's totally serious. In football, the quarterback doesn't get to design his own helmet.
Well,
no one on the baseball team gets to wear their own style cap or helmet. Actually, the catchers do. But
catchers
yeah. Catchers
and everybody on a hockey team should wear the same color helmet.
Catchers, I mean, there aren't many, but there have been customized catcher's masks. The new goalie style mask that catchers wear. So he's not correct about that. It's not the only sport that does it. Yeah, I mean, I suppose from a uniformity standpoint, he has a point. But no, that's what's cool. Is like
they've been doing this literally since there was masks.
Right.
Yes.
I mean, Jerry Cheever started it with the stitches wherever you'd get hit, remember?
Even before then, it's not like you had a lot of painted designs, but but goalie masks were far more unique, and so designs themselves were customizable back then. Like each goalie kind of had their own unique mask style. So customizing your mask has been a thing since as long as goalie masks have been a thing.
Well, yeah, and in their world, the Mike Richter Statue of Liberty mask never exists, and that's the greatest hockey mask of all time, if you ask me.
I kind of did like a mini thing where I went through like all of the great identities, and I'm like Patrick Waugh with the Avalanche, Martin Brodeur, not only just his mask, but Brodeur's mask and his custom Heaton Devils pads, like or Felix Potvin with his coho pads, like.
Well, wasn't Artis Urbe was the first guy to do the white pads, wasn't he? Or one of the first.
Artis Urbe just dragged the same pair of white pads from team to team.
Yeah. I'm sorry, but
that was my other point though. Like, would Artis Urbe's white pads, which like became legendary, would those have become as unique and special if everyone else was just wearing plain crap?
No.
Yeah.
No. No. He's wrong. I get it. I understand where you're coming from. You want everybody to be uniform, but it's just a different thing. We're not talking helmets here. The players' helmets are completely different from the goalie mask. So you can't even use that argument. Of course, the quarterback's helmet's not different in football because he's wearing the same helmet the tight end or the running back is, or the linebacker. That's bullshit. They're both nuts. Sorry.
To me, it kind of just came out of nowhere. Like, really? There are people who get that bent out of shit. Like, to me, this is like being against fun. Somebody
named Survival79 put up a great picture comparison of Patrick Waugh. On the right, he's wearing his normal mask. On the left, he's just got a white mask.
Yeah.
And there's with the Canadiens, too. And yeah, it just looks bad. It's just a bad look. He said it looks rec league, and I agree. So.
Well, no, it does look rec league because, most people who play goalie at rec level don't have a custom mask, so it's just a blank thing. So.
Yeah, and the custom masks are cool. It adds an element to the game that I really like. Mm-hmm. I mean, the pads and too. Our
great design friend Andrew Harrington, his thought was he likes the look of a plain helmet. It looks professional, like a goaltender's there to do a job.
Oh, fuck!
I remember 7 seasons ago, the Flames goaltender wore a plain black mask. It looks so much tougher than the boardwalk airbrush style many goaltenders gravitate towards.
Oh, please, really?
Because a goalie can't do his job in a cool mask.
Yeah,
I guess speaking of our friend Patrick Waugh, those Stanley Cups that he won, he was winning them despite the fact that he had a cool mask that was probably holding him back. Imagine if he was just wearing that plain white helmet the entire time.
Well,
he could have been focused.
The Rangers never go 7 against Vancouver in '94 if Mike Richter's wearing a normal mask. I mean, come on.
Oh, yeah.
They win that series in 5 easy. Come on now.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, Bobrovsky, look, you put a plain mask in him, Blue Jackets might have actually held on to that 2-0 lead over the Caps last year. You never know.
He was just freestyling out there with his custom mask. He wasn't taking it seriously.
Right.
Yeah. I mean.
All right.
I mean, I just say that's some Brian Burke level like bullshit right there, right?
I agree.
Truculence. No one can have a number above 30, and no goalies are allowed to have custom masks.
Like, I mean, again, like, especially on a place like our forums are.
Yeah.
That would be like the least popular opinion.
Yeah.
But the fact that there was more than one person that said it.
Yeah. Well, there's always going to be, no matter what the opinion is, there's always going to be 2 or 3 people that agree with it just because.
Sure. But of course, if anybody knows anything else about Mr. Cesarano, you understand why he would want the goaltender to look like just another person on the team. Another part of the workforce, if you will.
Oh, Jesus. No, but like, getting away from that landmine. Like,
are you saying his politics might be a little bit to the left there, Zach? Is that's what you're saying?
Maybe.
Yeah.
But like,
you know.
But like, okay, that, like, not this picture specifically, obviously, but like Felix Potvin, like that pad and mask combo is what got me to want to be a goalie.
Well,
like,
yeah, it's badass. Come on.
Yeah.
Even the whatchamacallit.
I was like, I want to do that.
What's the thing called, the square thing? I can't remember the name of it.
The blocker.
The blocker. God, how could I forget that? Even that looks cooler than shit.
Yeah, look at that.
Yeah. Anyway, all right, let's wrap it up, guys. On that note, we're going to call it a night, folks. Remember, the Glorious Tournament of Victory Selection Show is next week. Follow us on Twitter at Basically Sports. Subscribe via iTunes, Stitcher, Spreaker, and YouTube. And it's good to be back. We'll see you next week.